right, just a little technical issue here.
Oh, boy.
It is Blair and Barker.
Baby.
It's my...
It's almost like you just got here.
I was talking to talking to the hockey guys. You know how it is.
Less talk and more Dewey. That's what we say around here.
Yeah, and then realized that I'd left my earpiece. Yeah.
Act like you've done it before, some would say.
Well, some... That is technical difficulties.
All right, then you ready?
I'm
bang,
ready.
Bang, boom.
I mean, I was born ready.
Yeah, it looks that way.
It is Blair and Barker for a Tuesday.
Well, it's Barker for sure.
Well, it is definitely Barker for sure. Pretty soon to be known as the Kevin Barker Show.
How about
with
that?
Geoff Blair.
Oh.
7:10 first pitch tonight as the Jays take on the Houston Astros in the second game of a 4-game series. Geoff Blum, Houston Astros TV analyst, will join us at 4:30. Buck Martinez, Eric Gagne as well. Eric Gagne is getting to throw out the honorary first pitch on Wednesday. Gagne?
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw as hard as he
You think he is?
I would.
That thing ate.
I would. The Jays have made a roster move today.
Uh-oh.
Infielder Leonardo Jimenez, who was likely going to be called up when Bo Bichette was hurt, but was recovering from a concussion. He's been recalled from AAA Buffalo. He'll be active for tonight's game. Isiah Kiner-Falefa has been placed in the 10-day IL with a left knee sprain. Of course, you remember yesterday John Schneider saying that he felt something catch. He, being Isiah Kiner-Falefa, felt something catch as he was stretching before yesterday's game. So there you go. You could have a $1 million infield, as I'm calling it. If you close your eyes, you could have Ernie Clement, Leonardo Jimenez, Davis Schneider, and Spencer Horwitz.
Are we getting close to the point where it doesn't really matter? Are we getting there yet?
Speaking as somebody who's got to fill 2 hours a day, not a damn chance. We better not be getting close to that. We better not be getting close to that. I've done that. I've covered the Montreal Expos.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I think they got some good names. I mean, we got quite a bit to talk about with the Blue Jays. I mean, they got some big names on the pitching side, and they got a couple big names in the lineup every single day. They're going to make some trades, I would assume. Well, that's some things to talk about. Yeah.
Anyhow, so that is today's news. Brought to you by Blair and Barker. And
maybe Ernie will get to play more.
Maybe Ernst gets to play more. That would be good.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Ernie did hit a home run yesterday, so my guess is he'll be benched today.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice to do that with traffic. I mean, have that same at bat with a lot of dudes on base.
And he didn't. He did not yesterday. He did not do that yesterday.
Not too many people did.
No, the Jays 3-1 losers to Hunter Brown and the Houston Astros yesterday.
Hunter's good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I was following, reading their game notes and everything leading up to the series, and I thought, well, this guy's probably going to be American League Pitcher of the Month.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you see him in person, and we made this point yesterday, something I've always said, not Captain Obvious, but your opponents will tell you what they think of your team. When he's feeding you 79 to 80% fastballs.
Now, not having IKF and Vladdy in the lineups, helped him a little bit, especially early in the game when he was having trouble finding the strike zone and
still
getting on the same page. That outcome might have been a little different, but give him credit, right?
He did not. Here you go. Can you hit it? Yeah, if you can't hit it, here you go.
He found the lane. Occasionally, he throws sinker in. You elevate the hitter. You go hard stuff away. You force him to, dink and dunk you on using the entire field. And a lot of the times the Jays have trouble doing that. So, yeah, sort of exactly. We said this after the game last night. It was sort of the Jays season in a whole, right? You give up a couple of homers, you don't get the big hit. It's
starting pitcher does
what you see.
Makes one. Yariel Rodriguez was perfect until the home run. Zach Pop comes in. John Schneider playing bullpen Jeopardy.
Oh, Pop's been good. Just don't throw it down the middle. Again, this is the thing, right? I think where they're at in the standings, how many games they're at, they are under 500. Certain guys that you are maybe counting on going into next year, gaining a little momentum. You need to know if you can hand them the ball in the 8th inning against the meat of the order. knowing how to pitch certain guys. And if you throw Alvarez up and in, move his feet a little bit, knowing that he knows what's coming next, dive out of the plate, you miss a little middle, he backspins that thing to left field. So sometimes you got to learn the hard way.
We really didn't spend a great deal of time talking about Yariel Rodriguez's start yesterday on Blue Jays Talk. I do want to talk about it now. Clearly his best start. I'm wondering, when was his last previous start? I believe it was the 21st of June. And then, of course, his last start was that suspended game in Boston. So he pitched an inning and then apparently went out and threw another couple of innings, I guess, in the bullpen.
Hopefully they were better than the start in Boston, because that first 15 pitches.
Well, he came out after the game, after it finished raining.
But it wasn't really.
No. So my question for you is this.
Yeah.
He was really good yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you suspicious that part of that is because he was well rested and that the Yariel Rodriguez we saw yesterday on how many days rest?
Yeah.
Whatever, 7 days rest or whatever. It may not be the guy we see.
I think it's fastball command. Like, who cares? I don't think it has anything to do with him having a certain amount of days rest, or I think he had a little bit better fluid leg kick, which that's a big deal for him, right? Not starting and stopping that thing. And I think the arm slot was consistent. Now, occasionally he'd get under that slider trying to trick people, which, again, when you're throwing Bregmans of the world,
right,
and you drop down and they see you dropping down to other guys who's similar to what they are trying to do, they're going to look for that. And the first time they see it, they're going to be sitting on that thing. So you got to make sure you're locating that thing. It's got to have a consistent spin to it. The velocity had a better velocity to it. That may be where you're seeing the extra day's rest. Now, the velocity uptick in the four-seamer, that's a big deal, right? But the 55% in the zone, that, for me, has nothing to do with the extra rest. The 19 swings, the 7 whiffs, the 8 called strikes, and the 38 four-seamers. That's a huge deal. The 15 sliders and the 10 swings on the 15 sliders. You're going to get more swings on the sliders the more times that four-seamer is in the zone. That is a huge deal for him, and that gets back to that mechanics thing and that arm slot thing, right? When that kick of the leg is fluid, forget about all that stuff. It's sort of like a hitter. Forget about all that stuff when he starts it. It's about how it looks when he finishes it, right? So when he kicks his leg, is it fluid? Is it starting and stopping? Because now everything else is playing catch up, and the timing out of the glove is just not there. And then the ball out of the hand's non-competitive, and that's why you see pitch counts per batter going way up, and then he goes 2 1/3, and everybody's throwing their hands in the air asking why they gave him $33 million. So, yeah, I think for me anyway, it's the 55% four-seamer in the zone. That's a huge deal. That'll make all that other stuff he wants to do and occasionally dropping down. And, do you like that? That's trickery. I think his stuff's good enough that he doesn't have to do that. But I think the slot consistent enough that he can keep it in the zone, make it look like a strike, tunneling off the four-seamer, the velocity on the four-seamer. And he was a tougher take, Jeff. Like, they had to swing, take. And normally it hasn't been that way. So hopefully this is good things to come.
I wonder, though, Kevin, if that dropping down, if that's not something that the Jays are going to have to wait until the offseason to address with.
Yeah, maybe. He didn't do that a ton. Like, it was more, I think even Buck said that about, I think Dan was the one that made the point where it looked like he was only doing that with the slider. And Buck was like, yeah, that's funny. And then I think Bregman hit the double off the one that he dropped down sort of sidearm trying to, trick and give him a different look. It's who he is. Like, Petey's not going to force him to not be who he is. He's just going to tinker and trying to get him in the zone. Again, it's like, what we talk about hitters. Hit the fastball. Like, Springer's taking off a little because he's hitting the fastball. Vladdy's taking off a little bit because he's hitting the fastball. Pitcher's no different. Once you start locating that thing, that's a tougher take. You're in the zone more. Then that makes you better with all the other stuff and allows you to be able to miss occasionally because now your velocity's there and they know they have to be hunting in the zone. And if not, it's going to be some quick outs. So, and I think the 4 3 up, 3 down is a big deal for him too. It's quick action. It is the not too many pitches per batter. We've had John on here. We've heard John talk. It's just those non-competitive at-bats to where he's just never in the zone. Yesterday, It was fluid. It was hitting the ground. It was the same release point. For the most part, it was that slot. It was not so much here as it is here, which is a little higher, not so much sidearm. He can consistently do that. You can understand a little, I think, on why they gave him what they gave him.
We will see Spencer Arrighetti today against Jose Barrios at the Rogers Center. 7:10 is the first pitch I mentioned. Geoff Blum, Houston Astros TV analyst, will join us at fourth. What?
One of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of our favorites. We're still waiting to see the Jays lineup. We already mentioned IKF has gone on the IL with a knee sprain. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did not play yesterday. And Danny Jansen is away from the team on paternity leave. So Brian Servin is up for him. Vladdy yesterday attempted to take batting practice, was not comfortable squeezing the bat. Of course, you saw him get hit by a pitch on Sunday.
Two-hand finish guy. You need both of them.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's his top hand, but he
yeah,
mainly is a two-handed finish guy. Occasionally on that ball away where he's trying to drive it to right center, he will release top hand and be a one-finish guy. But for the most part, you're going to need both of them, and you're rolling over like that. Does
that concern you?
Absolutely.
Considering the month he's coming off.
Yeah,
of?
but he looked pretty happy over there. Like the people that I talked to, it seemed to be swelled up the ring finger. And that I think that's the finger that they're a little bit worried about. So, and that is his throwing hand. You got to remember that too. So, look, anytime somebody gets hit with that kind of velocity anywhere around your wrist, hand, forearm, it's a big deal. And he has been red hot. So now you don't want him going up to the plate thinking about his hands instead of thinking about see ball, hit ball, and eyes directing the barrel to where it needs to go. So hopefully they give him the time they need to give him, and which is not too long.
Boy,
again, they are where they are. Like it's. You sort of don't want to push this thing like that. Again, they're going to have to go on one of these. I mean,
they're going to have to do to
get to 86 wins.
I thought Shai's article today was great. They're going to have to do what the Houston Astros did last month. Go 17-8. They're going to have to go in a heater. Right now they're 38-46, and that may not even be enough. But right now they're 38-46. They're going to have to go in that type of a run. And one of the things that Ross Atkins said a couple of weeks ago that was absolutely right is they need to go on a winning streak. It's not a matter. It's not enough to split 2 with the Yankees and then take 3 of 4 from Houston, or split with the Yankees and split with the Astros. That train left the station a long time ago. They have to go on a run.
Okay, what would tell you they can do that? March
Nothing.
and April they were 15-16. May they were 12-13. June they were 11-16. What would tell you they can do that?
Nothing.
Okay.
But again, my point is that's what has to happen if they want to stay in the race. That's what I'm saying.
This is what I said. If you're a fan of the Jays, you just hope they continue to hit because they're a lot more fun to watch. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's a lot more fun watching Vladdy go up, and it's free and easy, and he's just hammering baseballs, and he's hitting them things to the moon, and I mean, if they lose, at least they're losing in a fun way. I mean, is there a fun way to lose? I guess it is if you're a fan. I mean, if you're on the team, probably not, but.
I'm not certain. Again, given everything that was promised, given the fact that
I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm just saying it's more fun. I mean, look at their pay.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think this is all. If you were running a $95 million payroll, I'd say great. It's about fun. $235 million. It's about winning.
So what do you do about it?
It's about winning. Well, at this point, you've basically what you were doing if you're the Blue Jays, I think, is you're waiting to see if somebody blows the doors off for Bo Bichette or Vladdy. In the meantime, you move Justin Turner, whatever you're getting for him. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you're getting for him. In the meantime, you move Justin Turner. I think you look at moving Danny Jansen. You got to do that. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier's not going to. I said yesterday, maybe Kevin Kiermaier is the 5th outfielder on a good team. But you know what? Yes, you're not going to trade for him. If you're more likely to let him go on waivers and try to pick him up. And quite frankly, if you don't get Kevin Kiermaier, you can find another defensive defensive outfielder. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier's not starting on any of the teams that are going to the playoffs.
That's fair.
He's just not.
Yeah.
So that's where you are. I mean, I'm looking at this team, really. I mean, who wouldn't you move? You know,
I wouldn't move Vladdy. I'm sorry. Like that. You take Vladdy out of the lineup.
Sorry,
it's not watchable.
No, I was going to leave Vladdy aside. I also think
Barrios.
Yeah, but I think everybody else is on. Like I would be, given how Chris Bassett has pitched lately, I would be fascinated to know what a National League team would give you right now.
Yeah,
for a guy that is, one, coming off a real good month. Mm-hmm. Two, has this combination of pitches that is going to make you sit up and take notice if you're doing your advanced scouting. Yeah. I mean, I get back to this, man. If I'm a playoff team, I'd do worse than having Chris Bassett be my game two starter.
Trevor Richards, too. I think he's one of the guys, National League, right? They haven't seen that change up before. Like, boy.
Yeah, although, you know what? If you're the Jays, like, you got to have somebody in the bullpen.
I guess. I mean, if you're going to start dumping guys, like if somebody comes a calling and wants to give you a couple of pieces for Trevor Richards, I mean, how many more of these arm speed change-ups you think Trevor's got left?
I just wondering. I mean, I'm trying to imagine what this bullpen could look like. Because you know what, and if you want to turn a lousy season into an even bigger steaming pile, running out of bad bullpen's a good way to do it.
Well, they've been trying to do that for a while.
But that turns those 2 hour and 16-minute jobs into 3 hours and 20 minutes of just pulling.
They don't seem to mind. There's no urgency to go out and try and fill in the pieces when Jimmy Garcia and Jordan Romano got hurt. Was it?
No,
you look who they called up. Like,
well,
there was no.
Right now, they're trading for guys that.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, that nobody else wanted.
So anyhow, that's where we are. I'm still looking for this lineup here. It's possible that.
Well, I'm sure.
Here we go. Here, Vladdy's in the lineup. So this is the Blue Jays lineup: Bichette, Horwitz, Guerrero, Turner, Springer, Varsho, Clement, Kirk, Barger, Barrios on the mound. So Vladdy is at first base. Yeah. Justin Turner's DHing. And that is, we've already said, of course, that Isiah Kiner-Falefa has gone on the.
I think Barger might get some run here a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder. I know. I'm wondering if we'll hear something with John Schneider today on Jordan Romano, because today was today the day he's visiting Dr. Meister about the elbow. I think it was today. So that'll be something we'll be keeping our eye on. I mean, at this point, you almost get the sense that they're not going to have Jordan Romano. Just kind of reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, it's too bad.
There's nothing about it that suggests.
Anytime you lose your closer, your eighth inning guy, they're your eighth inning and ninth inning guy for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's hard to fill in the blanks with guys that are not that, and you're putting a lot of more pressure on other parts of your game to pick up the pieces. It's
Johnny Cueto just exercised his opt-out from the Rangers a couple of hours ago, according to John Heyman.
What's that mean?
I don't know. If you're a team that needs immediate pitching help,
I guess
that's the only reason. That's the only reason I mentioned it. Well, they've got Aaron Sanchez in the minors. Who do they have in the minors? They acquired Yeri Rodriguez in a trade. Jose Cuas is already up here. Ricky Tiedemann were led. I mean, the one thing I will say about this is I think this is probably you're going to see Ricky Tiedemann up here sooner than we may have expected now, based on, once he rehab. Obviously, they're not going to rush him up.
Yeah.
But once he's healthy, I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts right now.
Well, you need
to see Ricky Tiedemann.
You need to find out, right, how he handles the lights. And
might as well.
How he can get a good left-handed hitter out? Can he get a good right-handed hitter out with a runner on second and 2 outs? Like, you got to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, the prospect thing that's getting borderline over for him. Like, it's, again, like he's injured a lot, and the top prospect, and I think, the organization and the fan base needs to see if Ricky Tiedemann's any good or not.
Yeah, and you don't want, with all due respect, you don't want it to turn into another Nate Pearson. I mean, you've got to see whether or not this guy is legit.
There you go.
And, at
Put
this
a little
point,
pressure
why
on the
not?
player. Why not? Put a little pressure
At
on the
this point,
player.
why not? Because they've been it seems as if they've been really reluctant. And again, they know more about the guy's health than we do. And they know more about how close a guy is to breaking down than we do. So I'm always kind of cautious of saying, they're treating him with kid gloves. They should push the envelope a little more because they know more about him than we do. But, this would be a good opportunity to see what you have with Ricky Tiedemann once he's healthy. And that makes some of your offseason decisions maybe easier.
Yeah, we'll see when the heart rate goes up and can he control the velocity? Can he throw strike one with a secondary pitch? Can he elevate when he has to elevate? Like, can he hit the spot that a catcher's pointing to? That's all the things that you want to see.
I'll tell you
can
what
he
I
maintain velocity for 4 or 5 innings like that? Who doesn't want to see that?
I know this organization hates this idea, but I would love to see Ricky Tiedemann get some run out of the bullpen.
Yeah, I hate that too.
I want to see because
it's like Yariel Rodriguez doing
they need it. Well, they need it. They're going to need bullpen arms at some point.
And this is about gaining momentum going into the offseason. Like, you need to find out what you got. Like, the record, I think, is what the record is. I mean, they're never going to punt until they're actually punting. But once they punt, it's good to see what you got, gain some momentum, see if he's part of the future. Call him up, see if he can do all those things against really good hitters.
7:07 is the first, or 7:10 is the first pitch tonight at the Rogers Center.
Meeny, miny, mo.
Geoff Blum is the Houston Astros TV analyst, former World Series champion with the Shy Sox, former Montreal Expos sensation, and he's got a statue.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I always mention he's got a statue. Granted, the statue is a member of the White Sox, but statues.
So, is that a big league stadium?
That's pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
Geoff Blum joins us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker. We will be joined by Eric Gagne in the next hour. Of course, 2003 NL Cy Young Award winner. He's host of The Game Over. It's a podcast it's a YouTube show both in English and French. And tomorrow, I love his Twitter handle, Eric Gagne 38. Eric Gagne will throw out the honorary first pitch prior to the Dodgers matchup against the Arizona Diamondbacks on Wednesday. It will be the 20th anniversary of Gagne recording his 84th consecutive save, which still stands as the longest consecutive save streak in Major League history. Barker and I were just looking at the dude pitched 82 and a third innings 3 years in a row as a closer.
Yep. It's a lot. Up and downs. That's a lot to ask a closer. Back-to-back days, like a lot of pitching and high leverage, heart rate going up, and even the run from the pen to the mound. It's just how much stress that puts on you, knowing who you're about to face and what part of the game you're in. That can't be the easiest thing to do. It's going to be an interesting conversation to have, especially with sort of the way that's changed, right? I mean, it's sort of kids' gloves when it comes to the ninth inning guy, right? We've seen it with Chad Green. You got a certain sort of kind of inning and no other inning. That's, I'm intrigued to listen to him talk.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Just that. And I mean, that gets back to, the idea of closers we remember, right? Guys that we're going to go every day. John Smoltz, guys are going to go. Mariano Rivera. I mean, the Mariano Rivera thing, I was pitching for the Yankees, but it's still remarkable that he did it with basically one pitch.
Yeah. Everybody knew it was coming.
Still remarkable.
Couldn't do anything with it.
It's still remarkable. Yeah. 7:07 is the first pitch tonight. Spencer Arrighetti. Man, I wish we had Morosi on just to pronounce that name. Will be in the mound for the Astros. Jose Barrios for the Blue Jays. The Jays looking to get back on the winning. Let's face it, they're looking to. I was going to say get back on a winning way.
Well, you need to win some
games.
They're
basically coming back after 3-1 loss to the Astros. Right, they've been outscored 11-2 in their last two losses. Last three losses, 27-7, and we'll just stop there. So, we'll just leave it at that. for the time being.
Yeah, we need to see the kids. You know, those at bats, like the Horowitz at bat with a couple of guys on base, like how they're getting pitched to and what they're trying to do with certain pitches in certain areas, certain parts of the field. Like, you need to find out what these guys can do in those kind of situations. It's, you know, Ernie Clement swinging at a ball that he probably shouldn't swing at. It's a little too high that he can't get on top of to square up and have a productive at bat. Like, it's those kind of at bats that you need to see. You know, a positive outcome take place. Don't have to have a hit, but at least they're swinging at the right pitch. The ball's going where it's supposed to go. So that's what you need to see. And then you need to see Vladdy doing Vladdy things.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, the good news, the really good news, I guess, is Vladdy is back in the lineup tonight. There was some concern about that.
Yeah. It's a little worried. I mean, that's soon. No.
Well, I was
quick.
I was going to throw this over to you, and I know that we touched on it a bit before the last break. But you opened the door. You brought this back up, and I asked you, how concerned would you be about Vladdy coming back from that injury, given that he's on a heater? I was thinking more, how concerned would you be in terms of the impact on his mechanics and everything? But you bring up a good point. How concerned yesterday he wasn't comfortable squeezing the bat. Now, I mean, maybe he had some treatment.
I'm
He
sure he
feels
did.
better today.
Yeah.
He's not facing Hunter Brown tonight either.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good, though. He's got big-time extension. He's got a really good sweeper. He's going to throw Vladdy. He'll have a four-seamer at the top of the zone.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to do things. He'll crowd Vladdy with something that's moving. He's going to do exactly what everybody else does.
Let me ask you this. We're going to watch Vladdy in the first inning tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to be looking for that tells you that he is comfortable with dealing with the hand injury?
I think it's just like every time anybody comes back after something's happened to them, where if they take a swing that we normally see them take, they don't peek down at it, or they don't, squeeze it, or, they're not rubbing it out with their other hand, like those kind of things. So, yeah, it's
the check swing.
It's freezing easy.
To me, the check swing is always the sign.
But it's his top hand. If it was his bottom hand, okay, it's his top hand. It's more of the extension, and once he gets to that little uppercut finish that he's got now, that's sort of because he's got a little rollover with his top hand, right? So
let's bring in Geoff Blum. He's a Houston Astros TV analyst. Hey, Jeff, what's up, man? Thanks for doing this.
No, it's good to be on with you guys. How you doing?
Oh, well, have you seen the team?
Not as good as you.
Yeah, I was going to say
not as good as you.
Although about 2 months ago, we could have commiserated, right? We both could have been on here and played whose team sucks more. That's not the case. That's not the case anymore, clearly, given what the Astros have done lately. 17-8, and they've got 5 pitchers on the IL. How are they doing this, Jeff? 17-8 in the month of June. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. They're walking a very thin line. This rotation is kind of, it's patched together because you actually have, a very good starting rotation, like you just said, on the injured list. And there's signs that some of these guys might be able to come back, like a Luis Garcia, who's heading out to AA to have a rehab stint and start to build his innings up. So hopefully he can come back maybe in August. But for the time being, you've got guys in there that are maybe overachieving a little bit. We're still trying to figure out if this is who they are. Renel Blanco's one of those guys where you're kind of going, okay, this guy's pretty good, but does he have the stamina to get through a season? The guy pitching tonight, Spencer Arrighetti, hasn't pitched a full major league season yet. Does he have the stamina to get through the season? Hunter Brown has turned his season around, and he's probably one of the more experienced guys in that rotation. So they're going to be leaning on him a little bit. But it's going to be really interesting down the stretch. But for the time being, we finally get to see the rotation pitching well, the back end of the bullpen pitching well, and the offense stepping up and driving and run. So we're in a good pocket right now. We've been waiting, like you said, we've been waiting a while to see this team play this well.
Hey, Jeff, you mentioned Hunter Brown. Is he baby Verlander? Can we call him that now? Because I watch him pitch, and Buck Martinez made the same point yesterday on the Jays telecast. Like it just looks there are some similarities there.
No, there are serious similarities. And the interesting thing about Hunter Brown is that he went to Wayne State right there 2 miles away from, Tiger Stadium. So he grew up watching a Justin Verlander pitch. So he did emulate, or at least the mechanics of what Justin Verlander was able to do. And now he's on the ball club with him. And I think it's really interesting that he does have, somebody that he idolized and, basically, stole his delivery, and now he has a chance to talk to the guy and the delivery, and he's developed it. And I think one of the interesting things also in comparison with Justin Verlander and what we've seen in those last 8 or 9 starts from Hunter Brown is he's starting to pitch more with his fastball. He's aggressive with the two-seamer. He's aggressive with the four-seamer, and that's something that we really got used to with Justin Verlander, is that he was going to challenge guys. And I think Hunter Brown is better for challenging guys with his fastball that can touch 99.
Jeff, how do you talk a young guy into throwing an elevated two-seamer?
Good question.
Isn't that a great question?
Yeah, it is a great question, yeah.
It is, because, the data, the analytics, and, even if you ask Hunter Brown and, everybody's talking shapes, profiles, how does this play out? And if you look at the numbers, if you dig into them and look at vertical and horizontal movement, the shape of his two-seamer is not good in comparison to guys that have really good depth on it. It's more of a flat line, one plane pitch that just kind of bores in on right-handed hitters. But what it's been able to do is been able to get in on right-handers and stand them up a little bit and make them protect the inside corner. And in doing so, it's made his curveball and his cutter that much better because it opened up that outside part of the plate. But I think that it's tough to convince them, but I think they just have to go out there, trust it, and execute it. Once they execute it and see how effective it is, that's how you build the confidence and convince them that it's okay to throw that pitch at the top of the zone.
Give me biggest surprise offensively for your team in this little stretch of winning for the Astros.
Well, the fact they're doing it without Kyle Tucker, I think the most impressive thing to me is you're seeing Yordan Alvarez had himself a hell of a June. Alex Bregman has been sporadic. Yainer Diaz has stepped up. I think he had a really good June, and now he's up over 40 RBIs. He's probably been one of the, not really a surprise, but he's kind of getting back to expectation. But if I had to pick a surprise, it would probably be Jake Myers for me, because he's always projected as a guy that was going to be a lot of defense, the occasional hit, but he's played a stellar defense in center field, and he's come up with some big hits in some of these moments when maybe a Yordan is getting pitched around, or some of these other guys, and he's got some cleanup later in the batting order, and he's come up with some big hits. He's driven the ball out of the ballpark, I think, 7 or 8 times this year. So he's probably been my most pleasant surprise, is seeing that stick come around for Jake Myers.
Jeff, one of the things that really impresses me about the success the Astros staff has had and the success the bullpen has had is they're doing it without Martin Maldonado, who a lot of us thought was kind of almost like a security blanket. Clearly, he has a ton of institutional knowledge. Yainer Diaz's offense has come around. What's his defense been like? And does he have is he try to figure out how to ask this? Not is he the right guy to replace Martin Maldonado, but does he have the same type of, I'm going to call it, bedside manner that Martin Maldonado does?
Yeah, that was a very polite question. That's something that's been asked for a very long time this season, because Martin had a special rapport with pitchers, and we knew that his bat wasn't going to be effective in that lineup, but he did so much on the defensive side that you were willing to overlook that. And moving forward, the Astros chose to go with the offensive catcher, and they felt that Yainer Diaz had enough time with Martin Maldonado to be able to develop maybe a rapport and learn how to work with some of these pitchers. But still, at the same time, I don't think that he has progressed maybe as quickly as a lot of the staff had hoped. That's why you're starting to see, Cesar Salazar catching Spencer Arrighetti. He does a very good job of being cerebral, game planning, and being a psychological coach out there as well with some of these guys. So I think it's kind of interesting that Salazar's been catching guys like Spencer Arrighetti. And then you also see that he's catching Framber Valdez, and when Victor Caratini's not on the injured list, he's out there catching guys like Framber Valdez who need a little more attention as far as the mentality and the focus and sticking to the game plan throughout the course of the game. So that's what's interesting to me. And maybe Yainer Diaz is just a little bit behind in that process, but I don't think it's something that he can't overcome. I think he's just in the process of developing and learning how to be a very good hitter and a good enough catcher right now.
You mentioned Arrighetti, extension, right? It's extension, and it's the sweeper curveball. If you're a Jays hitter, how do you attack that? How do you not have the extension overwhelm you to where you're having non-competitive at-bats?
Yeah, up until that last start, Spencer Arrighetti was a yard sale. I mean, you could sit there and be patient, wait for pitches out of the zone, because I know you guys have looked at the numbers like I have, and he's walked a minimum of 2 guys in every single start that he had up until the last start. And that's 13 starts and 35 walks. So as a hitter, you could be a little more patient and try and see the ball out of the hand. But in this recent start, he's been in the zone and got aggressive, and he kind of learned that from hanging around Hunter Brown and watching him be aggressive with the fastball early in the zone. But if I'm a Blue Jays hitter, I'm trying to look at the top part of the zone because that's where the fastball plays. The biggest key, and probably something, Blue Jays hitters could probably be patient with, is see where he's going to land that curveball. If that curveball is landing at the bottom of the zone, you're going to have some issues because then you've got to cover from head to toe. But at the same time, I mean, we've all faced guys that kind of feel like they're reaching out and letting go of it about 3 feet in front of the plate. And it's just a matter of picking up that release point as quickly as you possibly can and adjusting as quickly as you possibly can, because there is a limited amount of time with the extension that Spencer has. That creates a lot of that late ride through the top part of the zone with his fastball.
Jeff, are the Astros all in? Obviously they're going to get Tucker back. That's sort of all in once you get Tucker back and it's balanced now. And I mean, Tucker speaks for himself. But are they all in enough to what I'm saying is if they need, say, a legit starter like a number 2 and a 8th inning guy, are they all in enough to go out and get it?
The mentality, yes. I believe that they are all in trying to go out there and get what they need in the roster, because I think that, a frontline rotation guy would be fantastic. And at the same time, I think, finding a first baseman might be another really good idea for the Houston Astros, and something that they've kind of kicked around a little bit. That's why you keep hearing, names like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Walker out there in Arizona. But, the idea was to see where the Astros were at the All-Star break. And as crazy as this season is, they're only 3 games out in the American League West. And I think that's what's kind of changed their mind a little bit, is realizing that they're only 3 games out. Mariners are playing the Baltimore Orioles. A lot of things can happen in the next 3 or 4 days and weeks leading up to the All-Star break. So I think if they're above 500 and they're within a series striking distance of the Mariners, I think they're going to be all in. The only issue I have is, do they have the depth in their organization to be able to go out there and make a splash like that?
Do they need a platoon first baseman? So they'd be looking for a righty, short porch and left, go with Singleton. Is that what you're trying to say? Or do they need an everyday guy, and Singleton would be a guy off the bench?
I think either way you're going to be okay, but I don't mind the idea of having that platoon. I think that the Astros organization has prided themselves so much on the last 7 years of having, getting timely hitting, having very good hitters that make contact and put the ball in play. But at the same time, in order to make that pitching staff better, you've got to play good defense. So I think that they're actually going to have a little bit of defense in mind, because they're scoring so many runs right now without a Kyle Tucker in their lineup, that if they can have a guy that can complement a John Singleton, or maybe be a vast defensive upgrade over John Singleton, I think they'd actually entertain the idea of that. But obviously, offense plays, and the idea is to go out and score more runs. And if they add more offense to this lineup, that's only going to add more runs.
As he is making plans, do you think Dana Brown might call Ross Atkins and just checking Vladdy's availability? We've heard, that. I'm sure you've read that as well, that Vladdy Vladdy's going to be of interest to every team, but I just closing my eyes and thinking Vladdy in that ballpark. And of course, there's a pre-existing relationship with Dana Brown there, because Dana was here when Vladdy was drafted. Do you think that we might see Dana Brown aim that high?
I do. And I think that, like you just said, though, Dana Brown's going to be one of those guys, but I think that, once the idea of a Vladimir Guerrero being available, I think then all of a sudden there's that, the phone's going to be ringing off the hook for Ross, because, you're adding a true run producer and a true, bona fide right-handed hitter. But the idea of him in Minute Maid Park would be absolutely incredible, just because of that short porch that you're talking about. And then you talk about putting him into a lineup where he's going to be hyper protected with some of these guys in this lineup. It would be a lot of fun to watch and see. But I would imagine that Dana might try and get in there early and convince him to send him down to South. But there's going to be a lot of other GMs out there maybe with a little bit better package.
Jeff, we appreciate your time as always. Thanks so much.
You're the best, buddy.
Be well.
See you, man.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
See you later. Take care. That's Geoff Blum. He is.
They can't
Houston
have
Astros
Vladdy.
analyst.
That would be too much. You stick Vladdy in that, like Jeff. You stick him in the middle of whatever they want to stick him in the middle of. You kidding me?
Well, I will say that I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it because listen. I don't think this organization is going to trade Vladdy.
I don't either.
I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they're going to take another run at signing him. But I'm going to say this. If you look at the Astros right now and you look ahead to Vladdy's potential free agency, they're going to have some money off the books. I mean, if they don't re-sign Bregman.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
They've got some of their pitchers
Who
leaving.
would cost more, Vladdy or Tucker? Because Tucker's coming up soon, and he's going to have to get paid.
He's a free agent the same year as Vladdy.
Yeah, who gets paid more? That if you're Dana, that's what you got to ask yourself.
I mean,
you may not be able to have them both. Like,
you know me. I mean,
right?
You know me. I tend to lean towards the lefty hitter.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. But you stick Vladdy around that stuff where Vladdy don't have to carry an organization and just go out there and have fun. It's free and easy. I mean, there's a reason why Vladdy's gotten hot. I mean, look at the standings. Like, there ain't nothing too much now to carry. It's just, go out there, get your foot down, get it singing kind of thing. Like,
that's my other point is if you're the Astros, can you a lot would depend, right? And can you make another move that maybe brings that left-handed bat in so that you can – I mean, look, you know how we feel about Kyle Tucker in this show. I think that there are teams that Vladdy fits so well, and you've got to keep this in mind about the Houston Astros. One, they're a very Latino-friendly franchise.
Sure.
I mean, they've always been.
Yeah.
They've made their mark doing that. Two, no state income tax in Texas.
The player's dream. Yeah.
Player's dream.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Vladdy, I think, Vladdy got Florida residence, so that's kind of taken care of. But and
the right lineup, the ball carries, it almost flies in that park.
Could you imagine Vladdy and Yordan Alvarez
and Tucker and Altuve? Are you Jeff? I mean, it's just the fact of whether the owner would want to pony up and keep them all.
I'll say,
like Bregman, I don't think staying. I think the writing's on the wall there. But Tucker, say Vladdy comes there, Alvarez, Altuve.
They've also got they're going to have some money freed up for pitching from their pitchers leaving.
I mean, with what the Orioles are doing, with where the Yankees are at, with where the Rangers, what they're doing, with what the Mariners are doing, if you still want to be the big boy on campus.
My concern, though, would be if you are the Astros. Here's the thing. As much as we know their ownership's in, if you're the Astros and you can re-sign Kyle Tucker, would you be better advised taking your money and maybe going after Garrett Cole if he turns down his option, which I can't think he's going to do. But take that money and spend on pitching, because ultimately, if you're chasing the Seattle Mariners, you are going to have to outpitch the Mariners. And the Mariners got it going on with their pitching.
Yeah, I mean, you could win 4-2 games against the Mariners. The Mariners, like the Blue Jays, right? For a small amount of time there, it was more about the rotation than it was about scoring runs. So, if you got an opportunity, I have no idea. I haven't been digging into the minor league system for the Astros. I have no idea what it would take. But if you're Dana Brown, I mean, if you got any hopes whatsoever of getting that, you wouldn't try. Man, you imagine? Oh, my gosh. I mean, who's your daddy? That's basically what it would come down to. Like, you got that lineup. I mean, good luck, pitcher. It's righty, lefty, righty, lefty. Good luck. Pick your poison. You ain't got one. Like, you got four dudes. I mean, Vladdy could hit second there. Nobody even knows he's in the lineup because Alvarez is hitting behind him. I mean, you could put.
Imagine having to face those two guys.
Crazy. Like you could have Tucker. Like you could do so many things. And Vladdy, the way he could play defense, he's a run preventer there. Like just how happy he'd be with that short porch and left, short porch and right, letting the ball travel. It's basically Buffalo 2021 all over again.
Well, center field's a bit.
So what?
Center field's a bit of a trip.
Hey,
you gotta hit it. The center,
let it travel. You miss hit one, it's a homer. It's like you get out in front of a breaking ball. It's a cheap homer. Listen,
it's like, man. I've said this. My big fear My big fear about Vladdy leaving as a free agent has been that he signs with the Red Sox.
And he turns into Judge. That's
been
the
my
fear.
big fear. Is that he stays in the division and signs?
Because if you look at
Judge,
Judge had some ups and downs when he first got into the big leagues. Like he had a really good year and then he didn't, and he had a decent year and then he didn't. And now he's this. I don't know. Like,
interesting hearing Geoff Blum talk about that dilemma, I guess, if you want to call it that, with catching. It almost makes me wonder, frankly, if at some point,
is it a dilemma?
If you're the Astros, I wonder if at the trade deadline, if Martin Maldonado's out there, do you bring him back
what
in?
What makes a good catcher?
Just a babysit.
And in 2024, what's a good catcher? Blocking, throwing guys out. I mean, they don't seem to worry about that too much anymore. Is it calling the game? You get most of that from game planning and khakis before the game. Like
but wouldn't it concern you that this guy that already they've basically got a personal catcher for Framber Valdez?
You know what it screams? It screams pitch calm. It's like, how quickly can you adjust? Swings on this. We game plan for that. We got to adjust. I got 18 seconds. What do I do now? And then you're pushing the wrong button, and everybody gets thrown out of whack, and he hangs one, and it's a free-run homer. You get yelled at. It's that kind of thing, right? So, again, they're being picky. I mean, you watch DS?
Well, yeah, but you know what? They're being picky because they want to win a World Series. That's why they're being picky. And
well, DH him. Then, you could put Alvarez in left. You could DH him. Like, there's ways of getting – I mean, he's hitting cleanup for a reason.
I know, but the fact that they essentially have a personal catcher situation with Framber Valdez, I just wonder about that.
I mean, why do pitchers like throwing to Kirk? He tricks the umpire. That's basically why. He steals them strikes. He gets them the strikes that are strikes. Does Diaz do that? Like that's the thing, right? I mean, is it blocking as much as it is that part of it? I would think it's A instead of B, C, and D, and it's just that plethora of it's the Astros. Everybody needs to be on the same page all at the same time, and I'm sure it's been one of those veteran guys that's went, hey, I don't like this dude. Like, this dude just don't got it. And then it's sort of once you hear it from a guy that's been around a little while.
I mean, we saw that with the those great Atlanta Braves teams. I mean, there was a reason Eddie Perez stayed around those teams so long. And that was with Javi Lopez, who was a terrific offensive catcher.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's interesting. I just wondered about that if at some point, and I don't even know what a Maldonado signed with the White Sox. I don't even know if he'd be interested in coming back. But if the Astros get in a position where, and it looks like they're going to be in that position where they're going to have to go where they can go in an extended postseason.
Yeah,
I just wonder if they'd bring the.
I think it's if you have to get Hunter Brown through a playoff game to get him through, say, the sixth inning, when you don't want to use a certain guy out of your pen, you need a catcher. That's sort of where that veteran presence. You're doing it this way. There ain't no other option. It just seems like they've had. I'm sure it's been that one veteran guy. That's normally the way it is.
I think
it's normally not the rookie or the young guy who says, I don't like throwing to this guy. This guy doesn't give me a big enough target. He don't push the button quick enough. Like, we don't adjust quick enough. Like, I'm in a rush too much. Like, I'm sure it's not those guys. It's that one veteran guy. Again, I'd take the offense over the defense most of the time. But again, how do you win a World Series?
That's an interesting discussion. Buck Martinez
with the Astros. That's what I'm going to say to that.
Buck Martinez is our Blue Jays. Buck Martinez is our Blue Jay. Yeah, we will right now. Our Blue Jays TV analyst on Sportsnet. He joins us next. Eric Gagne as well. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. .707 will be the first pitch tonight. And the Jays and Astros play the second game of the 4-game
Wait, which
series.
one is it? You said 7:10. You said 7:07. And you went back to 7:10. I don't know. You tell me. You said
tune in at 7 o'clock. I mean,
which one?
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Tune in at 7 o'clock. You'll get the pregame show. Okay, what are those 7 minutes?
7:07.
7:07.
It's
What are
never
those
been
7:10?
7:10.
Whatever.
Well, it's not whatever.
Well, tune
That's
in
why
at
you get
7
paid the
o'clock.
big bucks, is
Yeah,
to
I
not
get paid.
mess it up. All you got to do is type in BlueJays.com, and it says right there
It's
7:07.
a dumb thing to do to start the game at that time.
It's dumber at 7:10.
Just start at 7.
Well, what are you
channeling your inner Gibby?
Wonder why you think it's at 7:07. Think about it. Cha-ching. Commercials.
I know.
Money.
Eric Gagne will join us at 5:30. That I know.
Mm.
Not 5:37. He'll join us at 5:30. Buck Martinez joins us in a few minutes.
Yeah.
As well. The Jays lineup is out. Vladdy's in the lineup. That's a good news. IKF is on the IL. That's a bad news with a left knee sprain.
That's awful.
And Leonardo Jimenez has been recalled from AAA, and he will be active for tonight's game.
How do you sprain your knee?
Huh?
It's weird.
Well, I was doing it.
I didn't do it stretching,
apparently.
I don't think. I think he
You can
felt
stretch
it stretching, and then I'm sure he did it on the field somewhere, and
Well, I don't know.
it's sort of,
What do you mean a sprained knee
I
is?
don't know.
Sprain your wrist,
I guess.
sprain a knee,
I don't know.
sprain your neck.
Never done it. If I did do it, I'd just take a little duct tape from Home
Take a little
Depot.
duct tape at Home Depot. We got ice.
That's true.
Never missed a game in 16 years.
Yeah. I'm here, aren't I? I'm sick. So I'm a gamer, bud. Believe that. You never have to look behind you, Jeff, to see if I'm coming or not, because I'm always in front. Yeah. Think about it. Yeah, it's true. Well, look forward. I'll always be right there.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, still waiting to hear some news on Jordan Romano, who was scheduled to visit Dr. Meister in Texas.
Yeah, I'm sure that's never good. I mean, I'm the Blue Jays got some pretty smart people around their team. I'm sure it's like, well, we expect this, but we want to make
Well, it's for a second. It was
1,000%.
a second opinion.
Yeah,
so I think every
it's
player's entitled to that.
Absolutely. It's his career.
But
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I wish him the best.
What was I going to tell people? Joey Votto's actually playing baseball games, single A.
That's awesome.
And Ricky Tiedemann's pitching. Jimmy
Maybe they'll come up
Garcia's
at the same
making
time.
Progress. I honestly thought Joey Votto was going to be here for Canada Day just because that seemed to be part of the story that, would work.
Yeah, I'm only Joey knows.
I know you've made that point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Made that point.
I don't think anybody else does either.
So Jose Barrios, let's talk about him for a little bit as we wait for Buck to join us. He's been their best starting pitcher. Bassett lately's been really good. Yeah. I don't think he's, we've talked about him going to the All-Star. I'm not certain he's going to the All-Star.
I think Jose's been their most predictable pitcher.
Okay.
Like, I think every time out, you sort of know what you're going to get. I think he's corrected the woes against the left-handed hitters. I think that was his sort of kryptonite, is every time a lefty walked up, no matter who that was, how do I get him out? What do I do when I get to 2 strikes? And now because he simplified all the movement and it's, good enough that he can repeat that delivery and, it looks the same, and he's added that little cutter, which he don't throw a ton, but I just think it's location because of the mechanical changes. And
is it enough to say, is the cutter, do you think, going to be an effective pitch for him, or is there just something that you just put in the hitter's mind? Just the idea that I got it if I need it.
Yeah, I don't think he knows when to throw it. Who do I throw it to, and when do I throw it? Do I want to get beat, lose a game because my offense is having trouble scoring runs with my 5th best pitch? I think that's where he's at, right? I think his sinker, his front hip 2-seamer to lefties has been really good. I think the elevated sort of that line to where he needs to be to make it competitive and a tough take has been there. I think that slurve consistently when he's trying to change shapes of it and sort of the speed of it. I mean, some of them look like a breaking ball. Some of them look like a slurve. Some of them look like a slider. You got 3 different ones. somewhat the same kind of speed. He can throw them off for strikes. They tunnel off that fastball. Fastball command's been on point because of the mechanical changes. He's very confident. His changeup has been on point. Like the arm speed on that thing down and away has been a really good pitch. He can get swing and miss. He can get weak contact. He can throw it in any count. He can throw it to any hitter, righty or lefty. So he's unpredictable with it. I mean, he's a big leaguer. Like, I think that's what it is. And if you're a contender and you know where the Blue Jays organization's at and you know that dude's predictable, you wouldn't come a-calling?
I mean, yeah.
No, I don't mean you give him up, but
Here's the thing. You talked about his predictability. He's pitched at least 6 innings, 12 consecutive home starts. That's the longest active streak in the majors, the longest by a Blue Jay since Mark Burley. This is intriguing. Well, not intriguing, probably not a surprise, but this gets further to your point. Since 2021, he's made 113 starts.
yeah.
That's one more than the major league leader in that time, which is Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has made 114.
Yeah, now, see, that wasn't as big a deal to me because at the beginning of the season, I wasn't all in on Briz. I mean, like, you were that guy. Like, he's an athlete, boy, he's the be-all, end-all. I wasn't there because I needed to see the extra little bit more. It's one thing to take the ball every 5 days. It's another thing to take it every 5 days and dominate. And now you're starting to see that because of the little mechanical change and simplifying it and being able to repeat that and adding the change up and putting that cutter in a hitter's mind that I ain't going to throw it a lot, but I might throw it in a certain count in a certain part of the game because he's throwing strikes with other things because of the mechanical change and how he attacks the zone and the velocity on the fastball is the same most of the time. And, he's an elite shape, like you mentioned, the athlete part of it, and he throws strike one a bunch. Like, he does some things, and now,
To me,
he's their number one.
Yeah, we talked about this.
He gets the ball game one of a playoff series.
Oh, yeah.
Game 7 of playoff series?
Yeah. He's the guy.
All right.
He's the guy. And I just, when we talk about potential moves the Jays may make, you just can't.
Somebody's got to pitch.
He can't even be considered. He can't.
You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so, but Gausman, I mean, that might be hard to get rid of, just the way it's looked lately and the moodiness of the velocity. I mean, it's all over the place. You really wouldn't know what you were getting. What would you get for him? Like, how would you know if you're a contender? What am I giving? You'd have no idea. And the split finger. Like, again, you're getting him to beat the Yankees and the Orioles and another really good team. All them teams have already seen him a ton. So he might be hard to get rid of. The Bassett thing, I mean, National League team wouldn't see a American League team until the World Series. I mean, I guess Gausman would sort of be the same kind of thing if the velocity is more consistent up until that point. He's got a couple more starts, right, until I think then maybe he'll show him something. And I would think there is most people available if this is the way they are planning on going,
right,
other than a couple of people.
I just wanted to throw this out as we wait for Buck as well, that we were talking about the Astros at first base. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic was on Foul Territory today, and he was talking about this, and he's also, Mark Feinsand of MLB.com is also linked, and this kind of makes sense in some ways, Andrew Vaughn with the Astros. He's under team control through 2026. But again, we're saying that if they're not, if they got to sign Kyle Tucker, and they're not going to trade for Vladdy, a guy like Andrew Vaughn.
It's if you want a platoon with Singleton. That's the thing, right? Do you want an everyday guy? So you can sort of put the other guys in the right position to be the best player they can be? Because it seems like Singleton is a little all over the place, right? Sometimes he's really good. Sometimes he ain't a big leaguer looking like.
No,
so you try and hide that. And, if he's not a 4A guy, well, I hate saying that. You try and figure out. It just depends on what they want and what they think they have to give up to get what they think they need to take it to the next level. If they think that Vaughn can come in and they can still go on the road and beat the Orioles, the Mariners, or the Yankees, more power to you. I don't think that's the case. I think they might need more. And I think Dana Brown thinks the same thing. But we'll see.
It's, again, there's so much tied into this, and part of it is what you are going to do with Kyle Tucker, I would think, ultimately. That has to be part of it. I'll tell you another a guy that might interest me. I don't know how you feel about this. Now, he's not going to help you much defensively. What about Justin Turner? If you're the Astros.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's point of contact for him, right? It's the kicking it to the ear and getting it down and everything's out front. I mean, it's very inconsistent. If you're seeing this one that we've been seeing a little, I guess. But
I wonder how much.
Still got a big hole up, and it's up and in. And when you face elite pitchers who know that time of the year, they're getting these dudes for that time of the year. Mainly September, October, and making a deep run, however long that deep run is. And if you think that Turner can come in and you could say hit him sixth against a really good right-handed pitcher, not a left-handed pitcher, a really good right-handed pitcher, then yeah, I'll go for it because he's a veteran guy. He's been there. Light's not going to be too bright for him. He's not going to be asked to do a ton. You probably wouldn't have to give up a bunch to get him. He'd be one of the guys I would think they'll go.
Oh, listen.
They got no reason to keep him.
No, I would. It wouldn't surprise me, frankly, if he's a guy that doesn't even go maybe a couple of days ahead of the deadline. I mean, if you need a right-handed bat, there's something to be said for getting him ahead of time. And I'm with you. I mean, look, it would have been great if Justin Turner was here and was part of a postseason run and giving you that veteran experience, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, at this point, if this team is out of it, I'll take somebody else.
And I just need to, if I'm an opposing team trying to go after somebody that's an everyday player for the Blue Jays, you have to figure out why they struggle hitting fastballs. Is it something that the Blue Jays are telling them? Or is it the actual person walking to the plate? You got to figure that because as well as anybody, that time of the year, it's getting frisky with some vinegar.
Power hitting, power pitching.
Oh, yeah, boy. Here it is. See if you can hit it. It's going to be my muscle against your muscle.
What does Alex say?
You don't win to the spot.
You don't win a postseason game by stringing together singles and doubles.
Yeah, and you go down the list of dudes in that lineup who have trouble hitting velocity. Why is that? That would be the first thing if you're an opposing whoever trying to come to the Blue Jays and Ross Atkins to figure out whatever that reason is. I don't know why, maybe they can't. Maybe they think too long about it. Maybe they overthink it. Whatever it is, you need to figure that out before you actually
I'm sure
are giving up
every organization in baseball has their khakis looking at video, thinking, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, I've said this a bazillion times. Make you wonder why the slumps for the Blue Jays players last months at a time. Bo Bichette's been struggling for 3 months. Why?
Yeah.
You explain that to me. 3 months. Explain. The dude's led the American League in hits 2 years. It ain't because he can't. Why is that?
It's not that he's hurt as far.
Man, it's like you notice everybody that slumped. Varsho's fallen off a cliff. Turner slumped for a month. Vladdy went through that stuff for long periods of time. Schneider's going through it now. He's been going through it for long periods of time. Not like 6 or 7 games where you just wake up in the back. Mm-hmm. It's like, you lifted something you shouldn't have lifted, and now I'm overcompensating, and now it screwed me up, and I can't hit a curveball. I can't lay off of it because I'm cheating the velocity, and I struggle for a week. No, it's a month. Why? I mean, it's 19 hitting coaches up. That's the first thing, man. It's very confusing.
It's not like Bo and Varsho are old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like there's miles on those bodies.
Yeah.
That's what I find. What has been particularly troublesome to me, has been that the young guys who I just assume, maybe I'm guilty of just assuming because you're young, you're going to have less trouble handling velocity. And I understand that hitting's very complicated and all that, but Kevin, you've got to think if you're younger, you're probably going to have less chance or less problem handling velocity.
You would think so.
You would think so.
What do you do? The old saying is, the older you get, the harder stuff you get.
Yeah.
The younger you are, the more you get the spinners, right? Because you can let that velocity travel. Because you're younger, just things, the fast twitch muscles are better when you're younger than you are when you're older. I just wonder, there is a lot of bouncing around for each one of these hitters to all those hitting coaches. It's very odd. It's very odd. I've never heard anything like that. I've never heard of a player bouncing around every couple of weeks to a different hitting coach. Yeah.
No,
Never heard of that. Like you got because every hitting coach is going to say it in a different way. And now all of a sudden, everything that dude's been telling me for the last 3 weeks is going to be totally opposite of what this dude's telling me. So do I listen to this guy and I just take a little bit of what this guy says, or do I completely eliminate this guy and I go over here and listen to every single thing this guy says? It's very odd. It's it's very odd, Jeff.
It's like picking your favorite teacher in high school.
Yeah, and then I don't like that favorite teacher after 3 weeks, and I go to another favorite teacher. And do I not? It's
who do I want?
Man,
for
it's just over. It's like the Varsho thing. I still don't understand the Varsho setup. Like basically anybody that's seeing me on TV, that's right there. Like his backside is way lower than his front side. So everything he is doing with his barrel is uphill. Everything that he always gets is fastballs at the belt. He misses them by feet because you know why? Sportsnet always slows it down.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Slows it down where he's swinging, he's missing the ball by. I still don't understand that. He's hitting like under 200 now. Well, I understand his dad's really involved. We've had his dad on our show, and he's very involved with the mechanics in the lower half. And, we're not asking you to be a 300 hitter, but you ain't hitting 200. It's just odd, right? The velocity and hitting the fastball and as young as he is and much power as he's got to the pull side. And I don't know.
This is something that's been there all year. It really would be fascinating to know from Vladdy what's made the difference. Like what not just in terms of what you're seeing when he's at the plate, but who made the difference?
Yeah, I think
when
you want my opinion?
When did it happen?
Record. I think it's the Blue Jays record.
He's got no pressure on him now.
Absolutely not. With Vladdy's best year, who do you have around him?
Yeah, Simeon, Teo,
raking. Dude's just destroying baseballs, and it was like, why would I have to go up and carry the team? I don't have to do that. It just seems that way that the shortstop and the first baseman have a tough time of carrying. They just want to be a part of the team.
Why don't you ask Buck Martinez about your thoughts or your question about velocity? I'd be interested in hearing what he has to say. He's our Blue Jays TV analyst on Sportsnet. Buck Martinez joining us. Buck, thanks for doing this as always. I'm going to hand you off to Barker here.
No, Buck, I was just wondering because it is a consistent theme when we watch the lineup for the Blue Jays that have trouble with the fastball and with velocity. We saw Hunter Brown throw like 78% fastballs. It's basically, here it is, see if you can hit it. Why is that? Are they able to do that consistently to the Jays lineup, do you think, Buck?
Because everybody is prepared for breaking balls, and all the talk around baseball is the fastball usage is down. Every time you see a good pitcher, Lance Lynn threw 75 of 79 fastballs the other day. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's too much information, Kevin. Yep. Nobody steps in the box, tries to figure out what's going on in the course of a game. They're all programmed because of the pregame meetings, and by the time they get to the game, the guy doesn't do what they expect to do. They don't get any hits.
Buck, how are the Jays going to make up for the absence of IKF over these next 10 days at least?
Well, it's not going to be easy. He was one of the most consistent players they had. Obviously, the month he had in June was the best month of his career, and he played every day. People can see what he does on the field, but you don't understand how valuable he is as a guy that holds everybody else accountable. This guy's as much of a pro as anybody I've ever been around. I told him that about 2 weeks ago. I said, man, you don't miss a thing. And he doesn't. He is so into every game. He is such a professional that they're going to miss that presence on the field. But he's going to be in the dugout. He'll be keeping guys on their toes. And he's a terrific ball player, having a great run. And it's unfortunate because they're probably going to miss him for about a month.
Buck, Dalton Varsho is 1 for his last 24, 6 for his last 53, and 18 for his last 104. Can you tell me what kind of hitter he is? Because I have a tough time figuring that out.
He sounds like Buck Martinez.
Yeah, me too. That's funny.
Now, you know what? I think you're right. He's one of those guys that everybody's rooting for. He gives everything he has every single day, but he just hasn't been able to have consistent at-bats. He'll get hot for a while, and then pitchers seem to be able to exploit him quicker than anybody else. And, it's been a familiar pattern. They throw a lot of pitches up in the zone, and, it's a tough pitch. This is a hitter, that pitch is a pitch that looks very hittable because it's near your eyes. But it's just at the top of the zone where it's hard to get on top of. And here's another guy that's fallen vulnerable to fastballs because they give him a steady dive to those heaters upstairs.
Yeah.
Buck, what are you expecting from Jose Barrios tonight?
When I went back and I looked at every one of his 18 home runs that he's given up, and every one of them, you could absolutely place him on a tee and put it in the middle of the plate. That's where he's been really hammered. Whenever he misses, he misses out of the plate, the hitters don't miss it. I think the key to his game tonight, this is something we always used to do. The Astros got hot, right? They had a great month of June. They're 18-8 in the last 26 because of three guys. Altuve, Bregman, and Alvarez. You can't let those guys beat you, and that's what happened yesterday. They beat the Blue Jays with, Bregman got 2 hits and got on base in the ninth, and Alvarez hit the big home run that was the difference in the game. So you really got to focus on those guys. Now Altuve's back in the lineup tonight. So, these are the key guys. You have to make sure you make good pitches to them, and you don't have to challenge them. Take your chances with the guy behind him. You don't have to challenge him. I know Altuve and Bregman are hitting back-to-back, but, you got to make good pitches, and you got to keep the pitches out of the middle of the plate, and that's been a problem for Barrios, right?
Buck, biggest takeaway from Yariel Rodriguez was what?
I tell you, I told him just a minute ago in the clubhouse, I thought he was terrific. He pitched like a big league pitcher. He made quality pitches. He mixed up his delivery. He dropped down and threw fastballs, cutters, and sinkers from the side. He hit with everything. He made one bad pitch. He hung a get-me-over curveball and said, Jeremy Pena hit it out of the ballpark. But he was terrific. This is what the Blue Jays expected from him, and hopefully he'll be able to build on that start and continue to throw that way.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Kevin because that was his best start yesterday. It was terrific, but it's also, he had a certain amount of time between his previous start. I know the start in Boston, the game was suspended. I know that he and Pete went out and worked in the bullpen and all that, but how much of what we saw yesterday, Buck, do you think was just the freshness of the arm, or am I kind of being picky here? I guess is what I'm saying.
You're being very picky because he hasn't pitched much at all, and we're trying to build him up, and I think this injury thing is probably a blessing in disguise because he hasn't pitched. He didn't pitch last year. When he did pitch in Japan in previous years, he was a reliever. Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful with how you build him up, and I think they've done a good job. And I think the injuries, and he's been on the IL twice now with the back situation, I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise because now he can build on that start he had yesterday and just kind of go with the flow rest of the way. Second half of the season, no reason to put any more restrictions on him and let him pitch.
Buck, what do you think the job is for the coaching staff now that where the record is for the Blue Jays, the expectations coming into the season, they're sort of not living up to it? How as a coaching staff do you, from here on out, get the best out of the 26 that you do have?
Well, all you can do is go at it the same way you have all year long. Right now, the cast of characters is quite a bit different. You got some young guys up here, and I think it's time to find out what you have in these young guys. Spencer Horwitz has to play every day. You got to find out if he can play second base on a regular basis. He can swing the bat. We've seen that. We know he can make adjustments. He's been on base every game he's played this year with the Blue Jays, and his at-bats are getting better and better with every game. So I think you have to find out what you have there. Barger, you got to find out, is he going to be an everyday player? Is he going to be a platoon player? I think there are certain things that has changed now because the expectations, the club hasn't lived up to it. So you have to take the second half of the season and find out what you have and find out what you need going forward. So I think the younger guys got to get a lot of playing time.
Buck, you think there's any worry about Vladdy's finger today? He's a two-hand finish guy. He's been feeling friskies. The guy throwing tonight's got big-time extensions, going to throw that sweeper away. Any worry, you think, with the finger?
No, I don't think so. I just saw him. I'm watching him take ground balls right now. He looks like he's full go, no issues whatsoever. So I think he'll be just fine. And you know what? Hopefully, missing one day is not going to get him away from the approach that's worked so well for him. You know, Vladdy had the best month of his career last month with 25 RBIs. So hopefully he'll be able to continue that and carry that right on through the rest of the season.
Buck, I want to shift focus a little bit to the Houston Astros. It was interesting watching the telecast yesterday. You and Danny talking about Yainer Diaz, and we had Geoff Blum on, and he was talking about, you know, they've basically got their rotation on the IL. They've got Yainer Diaz. You know, they've got Cesar Salazar catching a couple of guys now. It's not like the old days where Martin Maldonado was out there every day. If you're the Astros, like, I understand you've got a lot to do here, but Buck, do you almost if you're the Astros, are you keeping an eye on how Yainer Diaz develops as a catcher this year? Because it's clear they want to win. You know, they've come out and said, we're going to do what we have to do to win. Would you be surprised if they maybe look at addressing that catching situation, or do you just go with this guy?
No, you go with this guy. You have to. The only way these guys are going to get better is playing the big leagues.
Right.
They don't get any better playing in the minor leagues. And, you know, the caliber of play in the minor leagues is nowhere what it used to be. There's such a big gap between AAA and the major leagues right now, it's ridiculous. So you have to let this guy learn. And I talked to Joe Espada about this yesterday, and we talked about catching. And every World Series team, every playoff team, you see some little guy behind the plate that gets the best out of his pitching staff. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for Yainer Diaz because he's such a good offensive player. But Joe Espada is talking to him on a regular basis. You have to be a catcher first. You're so good offensively, that's going to take care of itself. But you have to get better at getting the best out of the pitcher. And that's why I said the comments I made yesterday when he made a couple trips to the mound in the middle of the game. I said, this is what Espada's looking for. Take some leadership. Make your judgments on the line. Deviate from the previous game plan. Deviate from what they told you at the start of the game and react to what you're seeing in the course of a game. That's how a catcher's going to learn. It probably took me 6 years catching in the big leagues to become a good catcher, because I could then understand what every pitcher wants to do and how you have to get the best out of him, and every single one of them is different. So he has to learn up here. He'll never get any better if you don't let him catch up here and make some mistakes and grow from that.
Buck, really good of you to join us as always. Thanks so much. I look forward to your call tonight.
Thanks, Buck.
All right, fellas, you have a great night.
You too.
You too. That's Buck Martinez, Blue Jays TV analyst on Sportsnet. And, yeah, interesting. His thoughts on the Jays and handling.
Yeah. It's think long, think wrong kind of thing. Like, you look,
we've talked about this for.
It's not like they're throwing these fastballs 20% of the time. I mean, it's 50% or more. Like you say they throw two pitches, you're getting one of them as a heater. Marquise Grissom used to always tell me, ain't gonna make a living off hitting the breaking ball. Why would I look for it if everybody else ain't hitting it? What thinks I can hit it? Like that's the thing, and I'm not real sure that everybody on that team can hit velocity. I think that's a lot to do
physically.
Yeah, just not everybody can get the head out on 97. Not everybody can do that. Like it takes a special dude to know their swing, have eliminated some wasted movement just to be able to beat the guy to the spot. And you got to mentally buy into that. You can get me out spinning it, but boy, you throw me something where I'm looking that's got some hair on it, I'm going to hammer that thing. And name a guy other than Vladdy. Right now, Bo's not doing it. I mean, Bo misses the ones he should be hammering and swings at everything else. Like it's so name a guy.
Consistently, it's hard to come up with.
Danny Jansen 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, maybe 4 weeks
ago.
But
name a guy that consistently just you couldn't drive it up there fast enough by a dude. There ain't one. Like and remember the teams that were really good for the Blue Jays? You could throw that thing a bazillion miles an hour to the meat of that order. They are turning that thing around, standing up on them tippy toes. Boy, name a guy. That's the thing, right? And I've been saying this for like 4 months. How you change a lineup is be the best fastball hitting team in the sport. You do that first, Everything else will take care of itself. And then they start being too fine with that spinning stuff, and then that's when you start getting them hangers, and then you start hitting them things like Vladdy did in Boston to the moon. That's how you hit breaking balls. So that I think is, again, I said this, they have a blueprint. You got to start somewhere. You got to figure out how to get a bunch of guys who know how to hit velocity. That's where you start. You start there because they got that blueprint of taking care of the routes in the outfield and the defense and how you sort of make up a starting rotation with the angles and the different speeds and the different movements and the velocity up and the elevated two-seamers.
I used to think they had the bullpen blueprint too.
Well, I think they have, but I think to your point last night, just maybe they've telling you what they think of your team without telling you.
Tomorrow night, Eric Gagne will throw out the first pitch at Dodger Stadium in their game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. It will mark the 20th anniversary of Gagne recording his 84th consecutive save. Just think about that. That is still the longest consecutive save streak in Major League history. It's a lot of leverage.
Yeah, I think it's more about the innings he was throwing than the.
Yeah, 82 and a third, 82 and a third, 82 and a third.
It's crazy.
Like, you almost, we'll talk to Eric, but Eric had his Tommy John surgery before he became a closer. But, Kevin, if I said to you right now that player X is a closer and he's going to give me 3 consecutive years of 82 and a third innings, you're going to say, okay, when does the Tommy John surgery happen? After the second year or after the third year? Anyhow, Eric Gagne will join us next. Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. What do you mean by don't be a follower, Barker? What time's the first pitch tonight?
Not 7:10 and not 7. Which one, Jeff?
I'm going to say 7:05.
Close. Tune in at 7.
7:07 is the first pitch tonight. As the Houston Astros and the Blue Jays resume hostilities after the Astros beat the Jays 3-1 on Canada Day. We'll be doing Blue Jays talk following the game.
Winning edition.
On Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I should be a winning edition.
You think so?
Tonight. Yeah, I got a feeling. A winning edition tonight. You just heard Buck Martinez talk about Isiah Kiner-Falefa. If you missed the news, he has been placed on the 10-day IL. Leo Jimenez has been called up. Now, keep in mind, of course, that when you go in the 10-day IL, you can be in the 10-day IL for a lot longer than 10 days. Mm-hmm. And John Schneider described IKF's injuries week to week. Buck suggested a month.
Whoa.
Possibly out for maybe a month. So we're looking at an extended period of time.
He's tearing something in there, it sounds like.
Well, it's called a sprained left knee.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
I mean, what are you making a big deal about that?
Because I've never heard that.
Sprained knee. Google it.
I will, but I've never heard nobody. I played for a quadrillion years.
Stop it.
And never heard anybody go, hey, what'd you do? I sprained my knee. Okay. Maybe.
I mean, maybe. I'm sorry. God, what
I'm sure that's what he did.
Did you play with a team full of Supermen?
That's what he
like,
did.
seriously, did you?
No, I played with people that knew if they weren't playing, they weren't going to the big leagues. That's what I played with. Okay.
Knee sprain.
Okay.
Are injuries that happen when ligaments in your knee stretch too far or tear.
Oh. Or tear, it said.
Or tear.
Oh, okay. Then there you go. That's different than sprain for me. But whatever. It's July.
You know, now we're getting
it's July.
Now we're getting into sprains and strains.
Yeah.
This is where we are. This is what we've been reduced to.
Yeah, sure is.
By the
fastballs and sprained knees.
By the Blue Jays. We're attempting to reach Eric Gagne, who'll throw out the first pitch tomorrow on what will be the 20th anniversary.
What if he's
84th consecutive streak?
Do you think he'll do it off the rubber or in front of the mound?
I mean, I don't know. I've always thought if you're a player or a pitcher, you do it
from the rubber.
from the rubber. I've always thought if you're not, like if it's you're being whatever.
Yeah, like a
rewarded,
singer or somebody like that.
Yeah, then you don't
just
go
want
on
to
the
get
rubber.
it to home plate.
Then you don't go on the rubber.
Like 50 Cent.
I mean, I just have this. I have this thing. This is like old baseball guy. To me,
Yeah.
the rubber's for the
You think
freaking
so?
pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do. That's for the pitcher.
If you ever had a chance, what would you throw it from?
I would throw it from right in front of home plate, underhanded. I would be like somebody's kid right there.
Yeah.
No, I would. There's no way I'd throw it from the rubber.
It's a lot of pressure. I've done that. It's a lot of pressure. I have actually went somewhere and I got to throw out the first pitch. It is pressure.
Oh,
People cheering and yelling. I couldn't imagine doing it in front of 50,000 people. Like that's.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember the World Series in 2001, post 9/11, where George Bush like strolled out to the mound and threw it, and I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
like that's,
guts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was trying to lead the country, so
Yeah.
but you ain't gonna do it in front of the mound.
I got to think if you go and stand in the rubber, it probably looks about 5 times farther than it really is.
Well, it's different throwing down that hill. I mean, that's
yes.
just it's an odd feeling if you've never done it before. And most people don't practice before they run out there. They're lollipopping it to whoever they're lollipopping it to, and then you get out there and you're not going to lollipop it. You're going to throw it as hard as you can throw it. And most people, don't have good finish and good direction, and they ain't tunneling that thing.
I just thought it'd be great to go out there and kind of do it sidearm.
No, you don't. No, you because we know you've had a chance.
Yeah, but I turned it down.
Why?
Because it's not me.
Mm.
You know me.
I know you.
I'm not big on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I like to be in the background.
Oh yeah. Quiet.
I like to be quiet.
Sure. Yeah.
Walk very
Sneak
softly.
up on him. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's you.
I don't need to.
You look up a picture of you in the encyclopedia. That's what it says. Quiet assassin.
Well, no, that's not the point I'm making.
That's exactly what you're saying.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it because it was after the Jack Graney Award. I just didn't think. I just didn't think it was.
I think it's pretty cool. You only get it once. You only get that award once, and
maybe it's not me.
You earned it, and
it's still not me.
Let me ask you a question. If you had accepted,
yes,
would you have practiced? Would you have thrown?
I would have thrown practiced. I would have made sure that I was on a mound practicing throwing down. Because even though I wouldn't throw from the rubber, I would want to. I think if you practice throwing from a mound, it's a lot easier when you get off the rubber to fling it.
No.
You don't think you should practice? You should just walk over there.
I think you should throw in flat ground. I don't think you should go anywhere near that mound or walk up on that hill, or you'd probably be wearing penny loafers.
Penny loafers. What was it? Derek Jeter's last words to Bush were, "Mr. President, just don't miss," or something like that. No pressure. What is this?
I was told we're trying to turn around the Snyder thing.
Oh, good. Okay, so we're trying to turn around.
Yeah. John Snyder.
Yeah, we're going to turn around. We're going to hear from John Schneider, so we can make up our mind about IKF. We'll try to get Eric Gagne on again.
Doesn't sound good.
But I do want to talk about
the IKF thing. Doesn't sound good.
I do want to talk, just kind of touch briefly on that, because we talked about 82, 3 years in a row of 82 in the third innings, and then you looked at
the 2004 one where he had 70 games and did 82 in the third.
So it's a.
So he's like, that's a lot of like coming in the eighth inning, getting a three-hole hitter, and then going and sitting and coming back and getting. Yeah, that's crazy. Like
that is insane.
The up downs are the thing. People think that's silly, and when your body's just not used to doing it, that's why you think that's spring training. It's the up downs. That's the whole point in having spring training.
Well, that's what guys always talk about whenever a pitcher is rehabbing or a reliever's rehabbing. You'll always hear the manager say it was good. We had a couple of up downs.
That's why what Trevor Richards does is unbelievable. Because he's had like 4 up downs in a game, and he'll come back the next day and pitch the 8th inning against the meat of the order. It's like It's crazy. So he's had a really good season, but that it is amazing the little short span of dominance where you have no chance. Like when he comes running out of the pen, it was like Rivera. Like there's only a handful of those that's ever laced him up. And Gagne's one of those people where just that small little amount of time, it's when you can do it longer periods of time, I think that's where it sort of separates, the Gagnes of the world and, the Riveras of the world, where it's just, I have it, I'm throwing it, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, yeah.
And legend is that the Jays had a chance when they made a deal with the Dodgers. Legend is they had a chance to get Gagne and they didn't take him. I don't know how accurate that is. But that is kind of legend with the Blue Jays. I think it might have been J.P. Ricciardi.
Of course it was.
Let's just blame him.
That's your boy.
What?
That's your boy. Yeah. He wouldn't know me if you fell on me. Oh, we gave you your chance. You didn't know.
You didn't like that. We had him on the show.
Yeah, I don't like that
at
all.
And he said, we gave you your chance.
Just don't act like you know me. That's all.
I think
he
knew you.
No, he didn't. He wouldn't know me if he fell on me. That's fine. I'm sure he's been around and said hi and shook a quadrillion baseball players' hands. I wasn't one of them.
I'm sure he would know you.
There's no chance. Alex knows me because I forced him to know me, but yeah,
I think JP probably knew you.
Yeah,
I would think. I think you're overreacting.
Really?
You're overreacting a little bit. You're overreacting. Maybe
Very
actually more than a little bit. So we touched on this a little bit. So IKF, it now looks like we're talking multiple weeks.
Yeah.
I'm with Buck on this in that. Look, he's been their best infield defender this year, but now we might as well see. Let's you know what?
Clement, Barger, Schneider. We need to see is Pop a big leaguer? We need to make up our mind on Nate Pearson. Like the window's open now that you can run a bunch of these guys out there and figure it out.
Here's what I would like to see. I would like to see a platoon of Schneider and Horowitz at second base. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
not a strict platoon necessarily, but that's what I want to see. Because you know what? If I've got to do all sorts of moves in the offseason and I can address that position internally, or Spencer Horwitz, again, we've been talking about how this team needs balance. We talked about it for years. If that left-handed bat, I think that left-handed bat plays. And if he can at all handle that position.
You don't think he can?
Secondly, defensively. I mean, I need a certain amount of run prevention, but I'm willing at this point. I'm willing to see if Spencer Horwitz is an everyday guy. Then I've got a lefty hitter who can hit at the top of my lineup and be okay defensively. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go out and get 26 guys. I mean, you have to figure out if
that is really well said.
You can't you got to figure out if these dudes can play. And again, it gets back to the names are obvious.
You need
find out if Barger is a big leaguer. You have any idea? I don't have any idea, but play him, and he'll show you if he's a big leaguer.
This is a team that is going to need to. It needs to rebuild its core. This is a team that needs to find some studs. And you are going to need, with all due respect to Horwitz and those guys, they're not going to be studs, but you're right. You're absolutely right. You can't go out and sign 26 guys. You're going to need Horwitz and Schneider to be everyday players, or, at least in that platoon situation. I'm with you. Find out about Addison Barger, Ernie Clement. I mean, I think Ernie Clement is... I really like Ernie Clement coming off the bench and starting every now and then. I have no problem. And you've talked about this with his swing. His swing seems to be manageable. It's short.
Yeah.
And Ernie Clement is basically a guy that will do whatever you want.
Yeah, but you got to pay a guy to do that, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah. I look at this team next year. Like, even if they do bring Vladdy and Bobet, they don't have a catcher. They do not have an everyday catcher. That is not Alejandro Kirk. They do not have an everyday catcher.
I'm not sure you can continue to run Dalton Varsho out there every single day either. I mean, look, everybody loves him. We want to root for him. We want to go up and give him a hug all the time. But bottom line, it's hitting $1.97.
Yes.
Everybody rolls their eyes at batting averages until it's $1.97, and then they don't roll their eyes anymore. And you gotta is he the future center fielder for the Blue Jays when they're legitimately making a run at it?
You know what? I would have said so at the start of the year. I don't know. Maybe he's. Do you think he is just strictly a platoon outfielder?
I don't know.
I don't even know if he. Honestly, I don't even know if he is a platoon outfielder and only sees righties. Does that make him any better?
No, I think that's basically what he's doing now. Anyway, I mean, Kiermaier will get some of the lefties. He'll get some of the lefties. So he's basically only hitting against righties. I think it's if they go out and get a couple of thumpers and you can hide him and his defense will play and what he gives you offensively is gravy. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's how you hide dudes like this. Again, you ain't going to have 9 dudes that all rake all at the same time. But that 20 that he'll hit, I mean, he'll hit 20 this year. Mm-hmm. He might hit $180 doing it. I mean, it's because he's got giant holes in his swing. So it's just a fact of if you're going to have him and you're going to let him play center with the way he plays defense, you're fine with that. But he has to hit 8th or 9th for you, and you got to have other guys who run produce. And anything they've shown you that will tell you that they know how to go out and get run producers?
No.
Nice.
All right, we are going to play manager John Schneider's media availability right now.
When he's really enjoying playing and competing every day. He's the epitome of a great teammate, just a great baseball player, I think. So told us, right before the game, kind of felt something during his pregame stretching. Smart that he, told us, I think, without trying to, push through it and make anything worse. His demeanor was, as you would expect, disappointed, but at the same time wanting to get back as quick as he can and help us win.
What can you tell us about Blair?
Good player that we've had on the roster for a couple years, really good defender, controls his zone really well, and has, the potential to impact the baseball with some power. So I think, talking earlier, with everyone, kind of turning into the player we had hoped the last couple of years. Still really young, but I think the defense comes to mind first. You'll see him at second, some short, just really, really fundamentally sound defensively. And whenever a young hitter can control the zone, he gives himself a good chance.
When can fans expect to see him? Do you expect to see him?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Today just getting here, obviously, but for a young guy, you don't want him sitting around too long. There's obviously guys here that are playing well, and we don't want to ask too much of him or anything crazy of him. We need guys that have been here to continue to be productive or to be a little bit more than they have been. So I think you'll see him firmly in the mix in the infield.
It was a big day yesterday, and there was so much hype around Canada Day. Mm-hmm. And you said, Isiah Kiner-Falefa such a good gamer.
Yeah.
Would it have been easy for players to just kind of play through it?
Yeah, that was his initial reaction, I think. First time, playing here, Canada Day, he was really excited. So I think that was his initial reaction. It would have been easy to do that and kind of try to do that a little bit before really kind of checking with the trainers and the doctor that was here. So again, it says a lot about him, him wanting to play, and then how smart he is too for not doing anything he shouldn't have done.
Well, that's the beauty of having a 2-year deal, Jeff. I mean, that's life. I never had that. I could never go, hey, I'm hurt. It's the beauty of that. I mean, good for him. He gets to do that. Hopefully he gets better. He's back soon.
Such a cynic.
That's true.
That is it for us. We'll be doing Blue Jays Talk tonight following the game. Winning edition of Blue Jays Talk. We'll be back here, Jeff. We'll be back here tomorrow from 4 to 6 Eastern on Sportsnet 590, the Fan of Sportsnet. Have yourself a great night.